All right, once again, a warm welcome to everyone to today's session, Being Agile with Government, organized by SGTech and Govtech. Thank you for taking time out to join us. I'm Christine from SGTech and I will be your MC for the day. Just some quick housekeeping before we commence the program proper. This session will be recorded for archival and marketing purposes. SGTech may use some or all of the images or videos in its print publications, digital platforms, and marketing channels. Recording will be made available post-webinar on SGTech website. You may send in any questions via the Q&A feature at the bottom of the browser. Today, we have an amazing lineup of speakers. Besides getting updates on Government ICT procurement, Govtech will share with us on future government projects gravitating to the Agile approach. To do this, being equipped with an understanding of what is Agile and acquiring proficiency are important to ensure a project's success. In addition, there will be sharing of how to leverage on Singapore government tech stack and how the industry can benefit from it. One of our members will also be sharing his experience in executing Agile project. And lastly, there will be a panel discussion segment to address questions that are posted. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Ms. Shirley Wong, the Chairperson of Government Procurement Committee, to address the audience. Shirley, over to you, please.
Thanks, Christine. Hi, good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining us. SGTech's Government Procurement Committee, in short, GPC, was formed to convey the industry's concern and issues with the government's ICT procurement policy and its execution. The committee's work requires that we collaborate well with Govtech, and I want to especially thank Govtech, especially Ling and her team, for maintaining the excellent partnership with our committee, being always ready to consider the industry's feedback through SGTech. Now, resulting from the close working relationship that we had between SGTech and Govtech is actually this series of regular industry briefing for our members. After our last in-person industry briefing that was in August 2019, today's virtual session is actually our very first since the COVID-19 outbreak. This industry government sessions actually provided a platform for SGTech members to bring up their challenges and suggestions to Govtech. Conversely, for Govtech to connect with the industry. This is mutually beneficial, and I want to encourage everyone to participate actively in the discussion segment after the presentations. Despite the challenges in 2020, we continue to have conversations with Govtech, and which includes, in fact, we had a session where we provided feedback to Govtech on the revised standard ICT procurement contract template terms and conditions, and specifically on clauses for third-party management policy as part of the IM8. There was extensive consultation with the members, and Govtech considered the industry feedback to fine-tune the policy, and we are very grateful for that. We also had a feedback session with Govtech in May 2020 on the impact to ICT suppliers for the from the circuit breaker measures. Members gave feedback on the constraints and the delay in government projects and had asked for the government to keep those projects going because we need more business, right? Now, as for the Tech Industries Association, SGTech represents the voice of the ICT industry. The Government Procurement Committee is an important vehicle to engage our key government stakeholders on behalf of our members like yourselves who participate in the government ICT projects. Today's session is exclusive for SGTech members. If you know business partners who can benefit from joining SGTech, get them to contact the Secretariat. Having them join us will allow SGTech to be more effective in our representation. And I hope you will find the presentation informative. Do stay for the Q&A session, and I'll come back and see you again after all the presentations, and where you will have a chance to raise your questions. And once again, thank you very much, and over to you, Christine.
Thank you, Shirley. Our first speaker for the day is Mr. Aaron Ma, who is the Deputy Director of Govtech Procurement Team, and he is responsible for leading the transformation for ICT procurement approach and processes for the whole of government, where adaptive procurement processes are used to balance agility, cost, and risk when government agencies procure and implement ICT solutions and services to accelerate the implementation of digital initiatives that benefit citizens. Over to you, please, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Christine. I'll just share my screen. Hi, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Aaron Ma, and I'm the Deputy Director of Whole of Government Procurement Division at Govtech HQ. Our division is responsible in establishing whole of government bulk tender contracts. We also lead in the efforts in working with MOF and AGC to maintain the ICT contract templates that Shirley talked about just now. And many of you are familiar with it, as well as also the ICT procurement processes, improvement and innovation. Good to see all of you virtually this morning. Govtech being the lead agency for whole of government ICT strategy, we will continue our efforts in partnering with the industry in delivering more citizen and business-centric digital services to the public. While we continue to outsource these initiatives, we are also moving towards a co-creating model where we collaborate with the industry in the development and innovation of these digital services. We have shared 2 years ago in this same face-to-face event in Govtech office actually, on how we would be calling 2 agile application development bulk tenders as part of this strategy, and I will give you an update shortly on its progress. Second, we will also continue to aggregate demands across the whole of government for common buys to gain efficiency in terms of procurement and value for money for the agencies. The calling of this new bulk tenders exercise for this financial year of 2021 will be shared in GB's website in a couple of months' time. So just like the past, please keep watch of that in the coming months. And finally, we share that we will introduce new procurement innovation into bulk tenders, as well as helping agency crowdsource ICT solution for their new business challenges. I will also be giving an update on that progress as well. So last year we have awarded 2 bulk tender contracts for agency to leverage in developing digital services using Agile. One of them is based on the co-development model that I talked about, which agency can engage a panel of qualified partners to develop digital services using the Govtech SGTech stack. There are 2 panels in this contract that enable agency to do co-development using either an Agile squad team approach and or on individual Agile role basis. This way, the agency Agile team and the partners Agile team can both bring its unique experiences and strength together in forming a joint Agile teams in developing these digital services of the government. The numbers that you can see in the last column there show the number of partners in these panels. The second contract is for agency to outsource by scope of the development of these digital services using Agile and SGTech stack. The panel in this contract cater for complete Agile development or simply just the UX design of the digital services, and finally also include a new scope for service journey services that both the agency as well as the industry had provided feedback on a year ago. Finally, both of these contracts have incorporated the supplement invitation to tender or dynamic contract that we introduced last year to meet the changing demands and skill requirements of the agency. Last but not least, we are very encouraged to see SGTech members are part of these panels. In fact, you will hear Mr. Anurax Lian from Simple Solution, who is one of the partner in this panel, to share a bit more of his experience. And my colleague Kevin will be also sharing more on the SGTech stack in the next session. The dynamic contract, or SITT, that we have implemented in the recent bulk tender contract will allow us to add new suppliers and requirements during the contract period instead of waiting for the contract to expire. This way, it provides the efficiencies in agency ICT procurement to move in tandem with the rapid changes in technology or skill sets and the supply chain challenges that we have all seen last year. Having this flexibility encourages more agency to tap on these bulk tenders contracts with their ever-changing demands and needs for new solutions and resources. This will also bring more benefits to the industry as well. So last year, we have implemented SITT into 6 bulk tender contracts as shown in this slide, ranging from RPA, software tools to services, cybersecurity audit service, Agile Development, the 2 contract, and also even data science services and tools. In this financial year, we will continue to implement SITT in the coming contracts that are shown in red. So those will be the traditional application development and maintenance using waterfall, and also the content website platform. In addition, we are also in the planning for initiating a SITT exercise for one of these contracts very soon. So do keep a lookout for it. Like open tenders, we will announce every SITT exercise in GBs. In my final segment of today's sharing, I'd like to provide an update on the innovative outcome-based procurement that we shared 2 years ago, where we worked together with IMDA Open Innovation Platform, short for OIP. Since early 2019 till now, together we have actually called 9 agency-based call for solution and 2 sectorial-based call for solution exercise. So a total of 11 call for solution exercise. These calls are mainly come from 19 agencies with 38 of their business challenges that they believe will be benefited from crowdsourcing of innovative solutions from the industry. Out of which, we received proposals from 635 solvers, and out of which 84% are from SME. As of today, a total of 1.75 million worth of prize money have been offered, and close to 500 million has been paid out to 10 winning partners. It is good to see that many of these winning partners are SGTech members as listed at the bottom of the slide. Now, each of these awards has the potential, together with the agency, to reach full deployment based on a spiraling stages of moving from proof of concept to pilot and finally to deployment without the agency calling another separate tender. This will allow SMEs greater reach into the government agency who want to co-create innovative solutions with the industry. So I continue to encourage SGTech members to participate in the OIP exercises. Now, OIP works hand in hand with the outcome-based procurement method that allows the agency and the industry partners to co-create innovative solutions together through a series of validation from proof of concept to pilot to deployment using a spiral contracting mechanism, therefore eliminate the need of the agency in calling multiple tenders. This way, industry partners can journey along with the agency from idea creation to final deployment in a single exercise. In order to gain access into all the past and future call for solution exercise, please do visit this link at the bottom of the slide, and you can get all the information with regards to all the future exercises, the process, and the engagement model itself. So moving ahead, we are in the process, and we do this annually, we are in the process of updating the ICT contract template for Agile to enhance the flexibility and alignment to the Agile delivery methodology. And we will engage SGTech, like Shirley mentioned just now, when this revision is ready for consultation. And we do always appreciate SGTech and its member feedback to this to make the contract template more relevant to the industry as well as to our agency. And like I shared earlier, we hope to exercise SITT for one of the bulk tenders. And Kevin would share a bit more very soon that there is an upcoming mini stack event in May that his team will give more in-depth information on SGTech itself. So with that, I thank you truly for your time this morning. And just before I hand the time back to Christine, all SGTech members can make inquiry with us via this email provided in this slide. So do not hesitate to send your question to us anytime, yeah? So back to you, Christine. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. To the audience, please keep your questions coming and we will have them addressed later during panel discussion. Next up, we have Mr. Kevin Ng, Director for Core Operations, Development, Environment and Exchange, also known as CODEX in short, at Govtech. CODEX is a digital platform that facilitates the delivery of government's e-services and comprises a data framework, government on commercial cloud, and the Singapore Government Technology Stack, a suite of reusable tooling and technology components to build digital applications. Over to you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. So I'll be sharing my screen. So I actually joined Govtech just like last year, and I've been in private sector all my life. This event actually sounded quite formal. I should speak in proper sentences. Usually my style tends to be more informal, and I hope through this engagement, you'll feel that you all can engage us even through either SGTech or directly with Govtech. That's all encouraged. Yeah. So I'm going to give an introduction on the Singapore Government Tech Stack. Yeah, and it's quite coincident that we always call it the SGTech Stack, and you short it's like SGTech Stack. Yeah, so the SGTech Stack goes, right, it's all about targeting the developers. So we want to basically provide a set of reusable components to streamline application development. And from a business speak point of view, right, this means that developers can be more productive, they can develop in speed, and as a result, as government changes all the policy and things like that, right, this can be effected quite quickly within the whole of government. And this is where we talk about agility. And we also say that by following some of this standard development practice, through standardization, we can certainly improve our quality and compliance. And this will be compliant to both our policy and cybersecurity standards. And then finally, right, I guess as we start creating this kind of reusable components and reusable methods of doing things, over time, right, we will lower the cost of our development because we are going to reuse this. And so from a whole of government perspective, it is really important. And I think it's important to convey this to the industry, right? The whole point here is really the ability to take on more digitalization work. I think today, the reality of the whole of government and maybe out in the industry is that there's more digitalization that's needed, and there's simply not enough resources. And we together as an industry, right, together with government, we just need to produce more deliverables with the same amount of number of people that's going to be in Singapore Island itself, right? So that's just a challenge that we are trying to overcome. So this is a visual diagram that I think is very helpful because the last slide really talked a bit at a very, very high level. And I think this one kind of distilled down to more of a layman speak. So the story we like to tell is that, back in the day, really very long ago, where Singapore there's farm, right? You want to cook soup, you literally need to go and find a particular chicken, right? That you want to kill from your farm. You pick that chicken, you slaughter the chicken, pluck the feathers, drain the blood, to do all this thing. Then you cook your chicken soup. And after about 10 hours of stirring the pot and making sure the fire is hot, you cook a soup that is placed on the table. But that soup actually sometimes it tastes really good, sometimes it tastes horrible. There's no consistency in it. And what we want to say is that if you read the points below, right, it's just that, all this thing is like, when we used to do software development, we have a set of policy, but after that, everything is done from scratch. Everything is using manual processes. There's high-level toy. And what we want to do is to become more of that of a modern kitchen, very likened to the Michelin star kitchen, right? Where you can always import the best ingredients from across everywhere. It follows a highly streamlined process where you can have a different chef, right? The sous chef, the chef de cuisine, they're all participating to do very specialized tasks. And on top of that, they're using the most modern equipment and tools. And right, if you've ever been to a Michelin star restaurant, they always produce consistent Michelin star dishes. In fact, that's one of the criteria for awarding Michelin star, is to be able to have consistent output time and time again. And I think this part is important because sometimes when we present about the SGTech stack, there's always this notion that it's all about saving costs, reducing money, and making it so simple such that we can use the lowest value worker to work on this. I think that's not the intent. I think the intent is really to enable modern development and such that the excellent collaboration, developers, vendors, whichever we have, right, can even excel in this environment to produce Michelin star quality dishes. So I think this is a more technical aspect, right? Essentially, we're trying to move up this line of innovation. And for those who have done software programming, you know how it's like, right? You have to, for those who have been around for a long time, sometimes you even have to go to assembly language to code your programs in machine code. And then later on, you have, languages like C, and later on, you have object-oriented language. And then after that, all this can be put into some kind of framework. And then this framework can then be packaged up. So similarly, right, I think I've taken this journey, and this journey today is to the cloud. So you will see that on yesterday to today, right, the biggest difference is that from the data center, we have moved quite a bit of our workload to the cloud, the restricted and below generally. And then we are still ongoing with this. And this one is very important because now with the cloud, we can literally program the cloud, so to speak. What was literally hardware and software card, hardware and those video interface cards before is now really a set of programming codes. And we can actually literally program the infrastructure up. And I think SGTech stack is a continuation of this process where we are not just only programming the cloud, we are programming the various aspects that we do in programming, like setting up the pipeline, building up the runtime, having the right orchestration level. And I think SGTech stack has a long story as well. As you know, we have the government digital service. And like most of the tech kind of outfit, right? Usually what will happen is that after you go to a certain size, you realize you need to start developing your own in-house tool to increase your productivity. And the challenge, like all of us know, right, is it's really very hard to hire developers. It takes a long time and they have a lot of choices. And as a result, the way of productivity increase actually lies on having better tools. And so we started out this, and what we found out was that actually some of these tools are really useful, and we can actually grow to become a whole of government, WOG stands for whole of government asset. And this has become a very important initiative. And I'll just highlight here like a couple of this, right? If you see the base layer on the bottom left, you have tool chain. A lot of you must have heard of ship hats and may have even helped to implement some of this. And now today we are at about 16, 20 agencies. And we look to grow this even more in fact, to the state where we can have it in most of the agencies. And for those who are familiar with WOGA, which is our analytics tool, same on the base layer, you see that it has grown to 83 agencies and implemented in 942 websites. Yeah. And SGTech stack will go beyond Govtech, right? Because we are also looking for agencies to contribute, and some of these agencies are not directly linked to Govtech in that we don't service them directly, but they are more independent. But we do, as part of SGTech stack, would like to cover them as well, and this includes some of the IRAs of the world, the CPF of the world. And this one is what I usually call the insurance slide, right? Because this is like selling insurance. You'll be there from the time the birth of your system to the end of life of the system. And we'll be there during the setup, we'll be there during the development, we'll be there during the operations and production. And I just highlight a few, right? Maybe development, ship hats. You know that before that, without SGTech stack, code development process is all done manually. And people may choose to implement their own source code management repository. People implement their own build tools and things like that. And even security services are engaged separately. And in some cases, this is good already. This is a good case. Some of them don't even have a exact process. And some of this development, for some of it, is still done in a manner that, like the old way where you develop, and then after that, you basically pass the build to the operations to deploy in the data center. And I think across the industry, we are moving away from that model. And likewise in the government, we are also taking this approach to move away from this model. And by using common tools like SHIP, we have achieved a common code repository. We'll have a pipeline. And over time, we can even introduce security baseline that makes sure that anything that follow heads, right, will be tested to a certain level of degree of robustness. And in this way, it saves a lot of time for the developers. And this means that you all can actually concentrate on more of the important work, which is to develop the actual business application logic for their customers and for government, basically. Yeah. So I think for SGTech stack, there's really two concepts I want you to take away with. One is the base layer. And the base layer is the part where it's highly mandated and prescriptive. And this is the part where we will be very likely at some point to call for a mandate to say that agencies should follow certain things. And for those who have run tech organization, this is very similar to some of our tech baseline that we set up that we want the whole organization to run with. And this will be a set that is not just infrastructure related, but sometimes in the old days, we also call it the application infrastructure, the CI/CD, the monitoring, the runtime. All these are not quite the infrastructure, but they are needed for the applications to run. And we like this to be more prescriptive. And this will be called a base layer. And then there will be this one as service layer. Service layer is drawing upon the concept of reusability, right? So we really like, over a period of time, as we transform the whole development landscape, both within the government and kind of with the vendor community, to basically start thinking about how we can redevelop work components and work pieces that can be more reusable. And this one is a very dynamic ecosystem where we envision a marketplace of sort where you can contribute to it. And we are still working on the details of this, but you can see that this is the part where actually we encourage diversity and we encourage participation. And this is really the key part of SGTech stack, right? Is to take away with this notion that there's a base layer where you will be more governed and a service layer where we expect that there will be more contribution over time. Yeah, so for those who are more technically inclined, the base layer is really comprised of a few perspectives, right? And one of it is what I call a day in the life of a developer. And this is really all the CI/CD tool, all the monitoring tool. And over a period of time, we like to reach a maturity to say that we are always using a same set of CI/CD tools and the same set of monitoring, so that we are able to have this kind of single plane of administrative capability across the whole of government. And then on the cloud API stack, this is really the ability to sit on known runtimes like containers, clusters of containers, the Kubernetes, as well as serverless functions that runs off the cloud and provides a set of runtime. And then communications, the way that we want to facilitate this API stack, right? Where we want to govern the notion of how we can standardize the way that how parameters, the naming convention, and even the telemetry of how API would be done. And I think you all can envision, if you are doing it in this such a streamlined way, right? This is our 3-pin plug concept, right? Then a lot of electrical appliance can just fit into the 3-pin plug and then it works seamlessly. And then the administrative plane is really more of a service management. These are really tools and services to enable ordering, running, and billing of this base layer elements, yeah, for the agencies. And I think there's one tool that all of you would love it, I would imagine. I know one of the common feedback from the developers and for the vendors alike is that onboarding to some of our tools sometimes is a little bit slower and it takes time. And while some of it is driven by security, but sometimes it's a bit self-inflicted. And you may run into a situation where you have multiple accounts. We are really trying to streamline this to reach a point where we can have more of a single sign-on capability, and again, you can onboard and be productive as soon as possible. Yeah, so the service layer is a rapidly evolving one. We've identified a few areas now. And the few areas are application platform. And this is really the ability to build modern apps. WOGA would be one kind of application, right? That gradually would transform more into the mobile app platform, web platform. And then identity is the one where we have a set of services that are tied to identity, and you certainly know about SingPass. There's also things like Decada, which is more about sensors, IoT type of identity to tie with the individual devices. And then there's of course transactions like things like payment gateway, but from government context, this can also include things like couponing and stuff like that. And then there's also a large categories of data platforms to tie data and data science, artificial intelligence capabilities. Yeah, so this is just a quick snapshot. Just now I show you a 2D view. Actually, SGTech is essentially a 3D view, right? We want basically to encapsulate application development through a streamlined process through the toolchain and monitoring, and build it on a modern cloud API stack where it includes a runtime as well as communications. Yeah, this is a quick view of this. Do note the footnote. This can change, and in fact we change it on a very, very frequent basis. But this is the whole idea that we are evolving, and I hope this also sends a signal that this, because I also come from a private background, I come from a very tech-heavy background, right? I think the approach is not to hold back any information sharing until everything is finalized. But because of that, then there will be changes as you've seen along the way. But the approach here is to at least give you a sense of what the SGTech stack may look like. And this is where we also would be interested to collect feedback on what you all may have and think about the SGTech stack. Yeah. I think these are some of the product roadmap. And base layer product will be the one that my focus will be wide on, right? And for those who are familiar with ShipHats, you know that it's been out for a while. And at some point, we would like to make it widely available for use. And the difference between generally available and widely available is that generally available just simply means that everybody can come on and try out the application, the SGTech stack product. And when it's widely available for use, right, it simply means that we will be promoting and even encouraging, and until when there's a sense of maturity, right, we may even mandate the use of it. Yeah. So these are some of it, and we are not certainly doing it all at once. You will see that we are pacing this quite nicely, where things become widely available or used over a period of the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And this is also how this links with the SGTech stack adoption, how it links with the cloud migration. And you can see that we have the notion that if apps that are already on the cloud, but they're not on SGTech stack, encourage them to start with the toolchain. So that's why you see a focus a lot on the toolchain. And then for those apps that are planning on re-platform, like changing the databases and things like that, we ask them to consider the whole toolchain as well as the operations. And for those who are doing the redevelopment, which is both my interest and your interest, I'm sure, we will want them to consider, if you are doing this one time, right, let's make sure that we contribute this to build an ecosystem where you use the toolchain, you use the monitoring, and you can even identify reusable components, yeah, that we can actually use it across multiple projects. Yeah, and I think this is kind of like an antithesis to procurement concept sometimes, in the sense that SGTech stack, we see ourselves as we need to move in tandem with commercial cloud development, right? And Aaron, my colleague, has certainly shared that even within a fairly historically rigid concept like procurement, right, we have also tried to introduce a lot of dynamism. And I think within our internal team, we actually embrace this, right? And we live it like our spirit. And what we really want to say in this slide is that as the cloud evolve, we have to evolve. And we have to keep changing and investing and making changes. And once you're embarked on this journey, right, this will take a while. So, and as we even roll out new things, things may be coming on board. And that's why when we start thinking about the notion of the new way of development, right, there needs to be a fundamental shift, even within the government, that we need to continuously invest on this. There should be less and less of the waterfall mindset where you do a project for 5 years and it continues for 5 years. That there will be more and more of this embracing of projects into products. And these products, upon MVP, is just the start of the product, right? You actually have to go through incremental improvement. And this is where I believe there will be actually even more of this development effort that's go into it and spread across a longer period of time. And this is why SGTech has to co-evolve with it to make sure that we can always use the latest best technology that is suited for a government context. Yeah, and I think the product design guiding principles, I just like to share a few, right? There's a lot here, but I just want to share that first of all, we are really customer focused. And today I'm speaking to you all as a customer, right? You are my customer in some sense because you are the one contributing the developers. And we want you to use our tools and therefore you're a customer. And we would like to move away from the notion that, you know, I call it Buddha jump over the wall mentality, right? That once the Buddha jump over your wall, it's your business. I think we want to move away from that model. We want to treat you like a partner. And this is where developer is a customer. We want to take the feedback and improve our tools. And the rest you can read through and glance through as part of the playback of the slide. But this is all modern tech practices, yeah. And I think one thing that's very important, maybe on the bottom left, compliance and security by design. And we also hear feedback that sometimes there are a lot of policies to adhere to within the government context, and it's all for good reasons, but it can be a bit laborious and tedious, right? And what we want to do is to make sure that we can have some of this actually built in within the tool itself, so that it become more convenient and seamless for you, and so that the team, right, can contribute more to the actual development itself. Yeah, so in summary, right, I think I've articulated why we are going around this sort of SGTech stack. We have some early results to show that we have done release to various agencies. And remember, if you were to take away this whole presentation, if you don't remember anything I said, at least remember that there's two layers. There's a base layer and a service layer. And on the base layer is part where we may be more governance focused and focus on a set of things that we like to standardize. And then on the service layer is like where we like to encourage ecosystem to build up and a lot of opportunities. Yeah, and I think with that, I just want to leave off with this Stack CICD conference, right? So as you all know, we hold the Stack conference last year, and we also hold Stack Act conference from time to time. And this time around, we are holding something in May. This is really to use CICD with ship heads. And this is not just me driving this. In fact, I got our Chief Executive, Ping Soon, to open this conference. And our DC is going to be a keynote speaker for this. It will cover the vision of how Singapore Public Agency can power. And all the people you know who's who in Govtech, like Eng Peng, Big Kwan, they'll all be part of this SGTech Stack Ship Heads conference. So I really look forward for your participation, and registration will be open next week. Actually, the conference event is on 6th of May, just to be clear. So, but the registration will open next week. Yeah. And it will be a virtual session, and we can look forward to your participation on Zoom. And I think with that, thank you again for inviting me for this presentation. I'll hand it over back to Christine. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. To the audience, please keep your questions coming, and we will have them addressed later during panel discussion. Next up, we have Mr. Anurax Lian, who is the founder of Simple Solution System. He has been in the tech industry for over 25 years, starting from hardware zone in the late 90s to developing enterprise cloud application solutions for the government and MNCs. Over to you, please, Anurax.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, everyone. My name is Anurax, and I'm actually from Simple Solution Systems. I've been, we started off in 2007, but we've actually been doing projects with the government for many, many years. You know, I've been blessed in a way, you know, since the days of, I'm not too sure everyone can remember HITS, Shine, G Cloud. So we've actually really seen how this Singapore government has transformed. And we really appreciate, you know, some of the things that the government has done. We also do have some concerns. And so today I want to share with you, you know, over the last 3 years, we've been doing agile projects with the government and what the benefits are. All right. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing with us and also, you know, mentioning myself and my company from the bulk tender. And also, you know, sharing with the government. Kevin, thanks for sharing with us, you know, the perspective of the government. So one of the key points here I'd like to share is that when we take a agile approach, right, what does this mean? All right, agile, well, sometimes the word agile also, you know, I do not know whether was it really the right word, but well, the idea here, all right, for me, right, as a Scrum Master, as a agile, solution provider, right, key things, we have to take a product mindset. One of the key things here is that a lot of times people have this mindset that I must have the best, I must have this, I must have that. Technology changes very fast, all right? If you take a mobile phone or your applications, your iOS, they change so fast, right? Every 18 months, a new release of an Android operating system or a Apple iOS platform, right? So if you keep thinking of having this big product or this product, customization and turnkey solutions, right? It would be quite dangerous, right? Not in today's digital world. So we really need, and I'll be honest, a lot of us, as a vendor, we keep thinking that, oh, our customers want everything they want. Actually, not so. If we actually sit down with our customers, they also are concerned about, end of life, end of warranty, etc., this and that. So if we actually sit down with our customers, right, be it government, be it private sector, or big MNCs as well, they do actually have. So really, one of the things here is that we should, right, as digital providers, as digital and evangelists, right, we should take a product mindset, all right, and move away from that monolithic delivery, right? We really should get something out within 6 months. Like I mentioned earlier, right, the iOS, right? Every 18 months, they come out with a new OS release, all right? So if you take an 18-month approach, to release a product, by the time the product you develop, it already has gone obsolete. So really, we must take away that mindset. And I really like what Kevin mentioned earlier about using modern technologies. We are really, really into pushing into serverless technologies, right? Really, the old legacy thinking of on-premise solution, delivering a server, installing the hardware, we have to get rid. Because why? We need to focus on what is most critical and most important, all right? For a vendor, it's really about me delivering the application. And also, it's also for my customer, all right? My customers are all frustrated, thinking about how do I manage my server? How do I secure my server? Installing antivirus, etc. All right, all these thinkings are really, I would say, old-fashioned. I mean, because of all the security points, etc. So why not put it into a productization mode, move it to a serverless, use cloud, let the cloud handle all the things which Kevin mentioned earlier in the stack, right? The base stack, which is really true, all right? If you can deploy ship and hats, right? Ensuring compliance, ensuring integrity, right? Let the product, handle all the compliance while we concentrate. So as the business owner of the product and as the vendor, right? We just place an emphasis on what's most critical, the application, right? And I think that's the message, that Govtech is trying to share. And I totally agree with it because, I also don't have to keep building up my team, looking for specialization A, specialization B, specialization C, right? And yeah, it's actually, in a way, if you look at it from the vendor's point of view, it is actually beneficial. So when we talk about Agile, all right, this I have to place a lot of emphasis, all right, is really we need to manage the expectations. A lot of times, we work in silos, all right, and that needs to be broken out, all right. We need to look as a team, all right. We need to work, we need to have transparency, all right, because when people know why they are doing something, they will know what it is that needs to be done, and it will be a lot easier to execute how we are going to do things. All right. In many ways, we always hear this word. All right, change is inevitable. But if you look at it, right, in every task that we do, right, what changes is only the how. The whys and the whats usually maintain. So if we understand the why we are doing something, we will know what it is we are doing, and then we will know how to implement it for this particular day and age, millennia or generation. So always be very open, all right, to change at the level of how, but also, go back 2 steps, right, and work with your team to understand the whys and the whats, and also work with the customer. So that's why, the daily stand-ups, in an agile is very important and very critical, because it keeps everyone, aligned. And that's one of the things that we did, because, and later on I will talk about 4 of the projects that we've done, and I'll share with you, how the daily stand-up actually saved us, all right, and kept us on time and on track. All right. The other portion is the effective communications. So one of the key things is there are lots of tools. All right. There is Tiger, there is Jenkins, there is Jira. Use these effective tools, Teams, etc. Right. And the best thing about it is they all log all these things. So you can always go back to the communications and track back. All right. And search back. So there are a lot of effective tools out there. Keep it effective, all right, and also keep it simple. One of the things here is, I think, how do I say this? Einstein actually said something, all right, keep it simple, not simpler. And that's true, because simpler doesn't exist, all right? Simpler means not so difficult, but that means difficult. So keep it simple, all right? And also testing. All right, very critical, because we need to know the testings, all right, because the testings is the thing that keeps us in check. So on to my last slide, just to do a comparison, all right? Looking at it, you look at the scope, you have the customer inputs, you have the team, you have the costs. I know these things are very, very tricky, all right? But honestly, we have to sit down and ask ourselves, what is it we want to do, all right? Why are we doing this project, all right? And a lot of times we can help our customers to justify, some of the costs, some of the collaborations, the inputs, all right? Interactive input is always critical, all right? If we use products, all right, things like low code, which I think we did a session previously, SGTech did conduct a session, and we mentioned something like low code, we can interact. So I've actually spoken to Aaron also previously on low code, and we hope, we can, the government can come up with a low code product, all right? Because with low code, right, we can come up with the interactive screens so fast, with our customers that, we can deploy it. In fact, right now also, we are using some sort of tools, all right, to actually help our customers interact with the prototypes, and also transform the prototypes into actually working applications. So that, I think, it's also very in line with what Kevin was mentioning earlier. All right, so over the last year, all right, we've actually did about 4 agile projects, all right, and I'd like to share with you what we did for Supreme Court. It's a really big project, because why? We are taking actually 3 projects at one go, 3 websites, and there was almost, how do I say this, 1,000 pages of content, and imagine having to rewrite. So for every one of you today, right, maybe after this webinar, go to the Supreme Court website. At the top bar, there is actually a click, right, that asks you to go and visit the beta website. All right, so it gives us the opportunity, all right, to look at betas. And when with betas, we can actually understand, right, the user's behavior. In fact, our beta has already gone through iterations. We've done our minimal first MVP and our second release number 1. And it also gives us fast outcome, because why? We learn. Learning is a very important thing. For the Ministry of Manpower, all right, one of the key things that we've done, all right, was, I think I mentioned earlier about the stand-ups. Those were really, really critical for us, because it really helped us understand what was important. One of the key things, all right, in the daily stand-ups, right, was that there were a lot of changes, there were a lot of requirements along the way, all right, and some of the security concerns that was not available to us, earlier on, right? But with the daily stand-ups, sometimes some of the teams, they forgot to share with us the critical information. But with the daily stand-ups, right, we kept everyone on the same page. Everyone was on the same page. And we actually managed to identify things early. And that's why we managed to deliver on time. In fact, we actually finished it within 5 months, right, for the first MVP. Even for the National Environment Agency, actually, I learned a few things as well, all right? One of the key things is actually, a lot of times we developers, we are so stuck in our ways of thinking, right? That when we fixed onto one product, we actually looked at it and just focused on it. But in NEA, I actually learned about, transactional database like Mongo, right? And how we can actually create hybrid solutions using a relational database and a transactional database. And there are benefits, for these products and solutions. And the other project that we did was with MCI. Now, this was a product-driven solution. So we actually straight away on day one, we actually already started working on the screens with the users, all right, and created the screens, let them see, let them touch, all right. And this project was right out of during the circuit breaker. In fact, yeah, we started this during circuit breaker. So a few things that allowed us was that the government started to allow us vendors to have GSIB laptops to bring back to our office. We were able to use them to deploy the solutions and allow our customers to preview these products, along the way. And yes, so we managed to successfully roll out a lot of these solutions even during circuit breaker. So, Agile, to me, I think our government, in terms of the procurement, in terms of their mindset, also has evolved. It's not 100%, but it is there. And I'd like to thank, everyone, and I'd like to thank, the opportunities that the government has given us. So thank you, everyone, and back to you, Christine.
Thank you, Aaron. And thank you, Anurax. Moving on to our last segment for the day, let us welcome Ms. Ling, Director of the Govtech Procurement Team, Ms. Cheong, Executive Director of SGTech, to join the speakers for the panel discussion. This segment will be moderated by Ms. Shirley Wong. Now, I'd like to hand over the time to Shirley.
Thank you, Christine. Hi, welcome back, everybody. I'm back here again. Okay, good. So I have my speakers as well as Yean and Yean to join us on the panel. So, please, continue to fill us in with all your questions. So as the presenters were presenting earlier, so there were already some questions that is strolling in. So let me start by, let me just pick one of them first to get the ball rolling. So one of the questions asked is, will the SITT be implemented on the next network bulk tender, the current effective bulk tender T1445?
Yeah, Shirley, let me take that. Yeah, definitely. The 1445 was actually called way back in 2017. So that was actually before the introduction of the SITT process. So therefore, in the next upcoming one, when we refresh this, definitely the contract team will look at how do we put in the SITT into it, so that allows us to have flexibility on incorporating new products or solutions into the tender itself. Yeah, so that definitely will be considered.
Oh, all right, thank you. Thanks, Aaron. That's helpful. Oh, there's also another question, relating to, again, about tender. I think we have a new member, and they are new to the business, and Joanna from Perspective Consulting. She asked about how do we get involved in the DA bulk tender for data science? Do we need a minimum number of years of experience? I think this is a new company. They founded only in April 2020. So do you think they can qualify for bulk tenders?
Thanks, Shirley. This is Ling. Thank you for the interest, Joanna, in terms of the data analytics bulk tender. Currently, the new bulk tender has actually been called, and it is in the process of tender evaluation. In fact, we had to evaluate over 200 proposals for this particular bulk tender itself, and since the closure actually end of last year itself. So I would suggest that, Joanna, I think look forward to when the next time when we call the SITT for the new requirements to be added when the market changes or when we have new requirements to be added itself. In terms of companies, we actually look more at track record, not in terms of minimum number of years itself of experience. So I think that is not actually one of our evaluation criteria. But in the meantime, you could maybe also consider looking at some of the problem statements in the OIP, there where some of the problem statements actually do require works, for example, on analytics and etc., that maybe that will also be an area that you could consider in the meantime.
Okay, thank you, Ling. Well, since you mentioned OIP, there's a question, relating to this. It says that how do I participate in an OIP call for solution? Yeah.
So in a year between IMD and ourselves, we so far for the last few years we have been calling almost 3 call for solution exercise average in a year. So almost kind of every quarter we have one. Yeah. So therefore, go to the link that I provided just now, the openinnovation.gov.sg. And down there, we will actually put almost 1 month in advance when we are preparing for the next call. So we just finished calling the 9th call. We are currently in preparation for call number 10. We will be publishing all those details. It does require industry supplier that are keen to participate in the OIP call to register themselves in the OIP portal. Yeah, so a registration is required. So do register yourself, because once you do that, then all these pre-calls and actually call emails and events that we will also organize will be sent to you, right? So when the call open, also IMD will actually organize briefings event, just like what we do for tender briefing. They will also organize briefing events for the agency come and share what is the actual problem statements, then also allow a platform for the supplier to mingle with the agency to ask questions so that they can understand more. Right? So it's a very good thing to register yourself if you're not already so. And then at the same time, just watch out in the portal, because all the information will be there as well. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Aaron. That leads to the next question. Hey, actually, our Q&A session very interesting. You ask one question, then you lead. Actually, there's another person who asked this question about, hey, I miss those days where there's that, we used to have this government industry briefing, right, where you would tell us all the goodies, all the big projects that's coming in. So they really miss it. I also miss that, because it's also a chance for me to meet up with all my competitors, and of course with all the government agencies. So when is that going to be? Is there one going to be this year?
Well, Shirley, definitely in terms of, this is actually the time of the year where the planning is actually in progress in terms of how will it be happening this year. Last year, because of the COVID, actually we broken it into 5 different campaign events in terms of sharing, some of the plans over, different platforms itself. Culminating with a session by SMS Janelle with the SGTech itself. So that was how we ran it last year because of the situation. This year, we are still in the planning stage. I know everybody looks forward to it. Well, partly to listen from the government, but also definitely in terms of networking, because coming from the other side of the fence previously and from the industry, that's also something we look forward. So we understand, the interest itself, but let us work that through in terms internally with Govtech together with our corporate comms team, and then we will communicate in what form and fact it will be, probably through SGTech as well before we do it from our regular media in terms of how we will do. Yeah. On the other angle of it is, please also follow, all the various social media platforms of Govtech, because that's when actually you do get a lot of information ahead as well on both the Twitter, the Facebook, etc. Yeah. Okay, great, man. This is something I look forward to, and please do it quickly, lah. Don't wait until end of the year. No. We will definitely be doing it between May, June, on that. Not anything later than that, actually. Yeah, because we know that the forecast is actually very important for the industry to do planning. All right. Great, okay. Great. Look forward to it.
Yeah, let us know, and we'll send a hold the date email for you guys.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yean. Yeah, so look out for it then. Okay, that's a question directed at Kevin. In fact, I really enjoyed Kevin's presentation just now. Well, this person says that thanks for treating us as customers. And will there be self-paced instructor-led training from basic to advanced learners, start start familiarizing with SGTech stack, and similar to the IT boys offer to us to encourage us to use their platform. So,
thanks for this question, and thanks Shirley as well. So definitely this is something we would like to address in multiple angles actually. So one of the first things I'm aware about is that the tendering process, sometimes it is mentioned to use SGTech tech stack product, but it's not very clear what SGTech stack product. And I think it should be clear to you all in this presentation, SGTech stack products actually made up from all different products, right? Like ship heads and other stack ops for monitoring. And so certainly like ship heads conference, if you were to participate, there will actually be some training as part of that. And we'll be introducing some of the new features for those who are already familiar with ship heads. And then on top of it, as you know, we also have the dev portal, and we are in the process of putting more documentation out directly to the internet, to the dev portal. We want to be a more open approach to this engagement with the industry. So a lot of this documentation, including videos, will be out in the dev portal, and that I think will be sometime end of June, July period, we will have that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So then the next question will be, will government agencies be using CODEX?
Yeah, so yeah, that question, first of all, need to clarify, CODEX is the name of my division. So they will not be using me in that sense. But CODEX is based on two main products. One is SGTech stack, and the other one is Government on Commercial Cloud. And then for those who have done the cloud migration, you know, all of us are going to do Government on Commercial Cloud. And then for the SGTech stack, we are still in the initial phase. Much as I said, the base layer eventually is mandatable. But now we're at this phase that we really want to engage with the industry. We are still improving the product, right, as we speak. And we are becoming more and more like an industry where you have private beta, private preview, and some of this SGTech stack product will also be released in this way. And only when we have sufficient comfort, right, that this product is indeed packaged and developed to a point where it's going to be widely available for use, then now this is the part where we then say that we would like to mandate this as a base layer product, that henceforth from this point onwards, right, all the agencies should use this product unless there's exceptions. But that would be a few years down the road. Yeah.
Okay, thanks Kevin. So there's another question, you know, regarding again the tender, is that when is the next round for 2003 to include new vendors?
Thanks for that, Shirley. The 2003 actually was just awarded in January this year, so it's very recent, right? So therefore, we do need to get the contract and also the agency and also the panel of supplier to settle down to understand the requirement a bit more. But at the same time, we also would encourage the industry to approach us, you know, using the email that I shared just now, to share with us, you know, new solution, new skills, you know, even new company which we are looking for. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the spirit of the SITT per se is to, you know, during this contract period of the bulk tender, we want to continue to, you know, move in tandem with the industry in terms of their requirements, in terms of changes, in terms of advancement of technology, right? So do engage us, and we will link you up to the right people. You know, when you have new skills or new solution or new approaches that you want to share, that's where they'll help us to better formalize our SITT strategy. Yeah, I mean, SITT, as its name implies, is also actually calling a tender per se, but it's a lot more quicker because it's already being awarded. But it's still, we do need to think through the strategy, the requirement, the needs, making sure we match demands and supply, right? I mean, there's no point creating a large panel of supply where there's no demand. That's not what we want to do as well, right? To make sure the industry also will benefits from the tender. So continue to engage us. You know, we will then look at both the demands and supply to decide really when is the next optimal time to go an SITT. Yeah.
Well said, Arian. Now, for the benefit of our other members who are not familiar with all the numbers, what is 2003?
Oh, okay, sorry. So Royston must be very familiar. The 2003 is actually the one of the contract that I shared in my slide. Actually, is the Agile and UXD bulk tender. That's also where Mr. Anurax Simple Solutions is being awarded as well. So that is the Agile Development and UXD design contract, so which is just awarded in January. Yes.
Yeah. So
I could clarify, there is always a series of numbers because when a tender is actually called itself, there is tagged to it like a tender number. So it used to be 4 digits, so people think that it's a 4D number. Actually, it's not. But essentially, maybe to the panel, which is awarded in terms of the vendor, it is 4D, but it is just a registration number. So the industry community, if you're in that bulk tender, knows, the name. That's why, I think there was mention about the network bulk tender. There was a certain series of numbers, etc. Yeah. So there's just it's just a little quirkiness within, I think, the way in which how the tenders are actually being named. But there is actually a formal name for each of the bulk tender in that. Yeah.
I see. For those who win those bulk tender, they can use that number and buy 4D lah. Okay, since we are talking about bulk tender, I can see that there's actually a lot of interest in this. And then, of course, congrats to Anurax for winning, or for being awarded the bulk tender, in the panel. Maybe, can I ask Anurax, can give some of our members, especially the new ones, some tips, how to navigate through, this bulk tender and how to win, more importantly. Wow. Anurax cannot answer. It says
responsibility the government has given us. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Start again, Anurax.
You were silent for a while. I thought you don't want to
Start again, please.
Internet. I need to talk to Singtel about this. So really, I just want to share with everyone. All right. The first thing is also look at it from a responsibility point of view. All right, it's really something that they put a trust and a faith in you. All right, and work hard not to break that trust. But if you ask me for like tips, etc., really go in with the integrity at heart. All right, look at it from a from the perspective of it's really not about just winning for the sake of winning. All right, that's not the digital way anymore. We have to really think digital. All right, and really focus on what is critical. All right, what are we doing? All right, that's like I said, don't try to be a jack of all trades in everything. Razor focus on the things that you really specialize in, and deliver quality works from that perspective. All right, and I think everyone will do quite well in that perspective.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing the tips. All right. So there's a question relating asking, has the team worked with IMDA accredited solutions? I think IMDA has quite a list of accredited solutions before. So as part of the tech stack. So they heard that there's a need for low code, no code solution for quicker development. That sounds like we do at Workado as an integration platform as a service. I think this is just a comment, but yeah. So the question I think asked is, have you all worked with IMDA accredited solution partners before?
Kevin, would you like to take this, Kevin?
Yes, I can take this. So as you know, the IMDA accredited solution is really targeted for the industry on their leverage use of info technology, and we are certainly in touch with them in terms of what they are accrediting and things like that. And I have no doubt in my mind that there will be some overlap of what we use and what they accredited. So in that sense, that there is that partnership. Specifically with the SGTech stack, we do not look so much directly into the accredited solution as a form of basis, but we just kind of look at it from our perspective to see how we can put it more from a government perspective. So our angle is a bit different. Yeah. So while there's understanding and collaboration, but there's not like direct implication in that sense.
Okay. So thanks, Kevin. There's also a question asked is, what advice would you recommend for teams looking to embark on agile projects with government? I think this question probably somewhat, Anurax as well as Aaron has covered. Is there anything more to add? More tips for any of our panelists?
I'll probably just chip in a little bit, maybe Kevin expand more. As what we shared, between myself and Kevin. So for those teams that out there that want to work with the government to encourage the government to go on Agile, I think really do take the time and effort to visit the developer.gov.sg portal that Kevin talks about, because we do publish a lot of the ship heads, SGTech information in there, because that would really help the industry to better know how we intend to build application using Agile. What are the platforms and tools that we're going to use to make sure, like Kevin talked about, to ensure quality and security and good codes that are being delivered, so that we can able to deliver secure applications or digital service in a timely manner, and the agency also embracing that. So we're good for the industry to be on the same page or on the same page with the industry, so that when you engage the agency, it doesn't sound like a foreigner to them as well, right? So I do encourage that. Yeah. Kevin,
Okay.
maybe something to add?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I think you cover most of the point, and the very fact that we are all here attending SGTech and you're part of SGTech, that is really a very big commitment. So I think that's part of that thought process, and certainly we'll be sharing more. And it's not just a one-way communication in the tech portal that we talk about, the developer.tech.gov.sg, right? We will have definitely areas where you can provide feedback directly, and we will have documentation to actually literally guide you on what is the process of communicating feedback on the SGTech stack and elements of the dev portal itself. So make use of that, and we'll make sure that we'll follow through on those items, because internally, like what Anurax also said earlier, right? There's all this good documentation and communication tool, and in fact, for each of your feedback and requests, right, we literally will put it into a ticket system like Jira to track it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, thanks for all the questions that comes in. It has made the session very lively. Perhaps I'd like to ask, because me as a user, I also more I would like to understand more from a user perspective, from a vendor perspective, what obstacles or the most common problems you will experience when encountering doing Agile projects. Perhaps Anurax, you can share a little bit with us. I'm sure, doing while it is great using Agile and there's many benefits, but I'm sure there are also a lot of challenges in dealing with this. And perhaps you can tell us, in all the projects that you have done so far, what are some of the most common problems that you have experienced?
Thanks, Shirley. Yeah, well, I guess, I think with change, the greatest thing has always been the mindset now. Keep an open mind, all right? From a vendor, we should always look from the customer's perspective of some of their, I use the word concerns now, all right? And also, I think, try to relate with them, right? Things like, IM8, we can't walk away from that, all right? So that kind of negotiation, if you want to try to change IM8 is definitely not possible, all right? But then there are other things like maybe payment terms or releases of scope. These are things that we can sit down and negotiate and share with the customer. And also, if we explain to them, all right, I think so I would say all parties, right, try to keep an open mind, all right, be open in the discussion, in the thought of mind. That's what Agile is. Agile isn't suka-suka, in a way, all right? It's about having openness. And early on, one of the key points I mentioned is transparency, all right? Be transparent to everyone, and yeah, I think that is probably my biggest take and advice to everyone. Have open,
Yeah. Well, if I may jump in to what Anurax is saying, so now I'm kind of putting on my previous hat when I used to be in the private sector, when I'm a customer of the vendors. So I really like the slide, for example, when you show the difference between the waterfall and Agile, and I think certainly, from a customer perspective, right, the clients I used to deal with, I think the biggest challenge is really that budget, in terms of for Agile, but even then, when I was in my project management days, I always say to our clients, right, like I said, unless you're very specific and you really know your scope, the truth is, right, everything is work in progress. I mean, even right now, when we look at our own digital assets, right, everything is work in progress. You may think that today, this is how you're going to scope out, your interface, your user experience, right? But as you interact with your target audiences, you know that things will change. And if you're using data to really analyze, how you're engaging, right, that in itself, right, will actually, mean that there are certain things that you need to do down the road. Obviously, some of them are more critical, others, you can maybe pace it for the next phase or things like that. So that's why the budget becomes very, very critical for these clients. And to your point, Anurax, the transparency is very important because there will be mismatched expectation. There will be things like basically, it's actually more than what they have, the budget can support. So I always also, be very conscious when I was in those roles where I need to help my customers also manage their own expectation or their boss's expectations, right? Because it is the value exchange that is very important. We need to help them justify why certain budget, so-called, has to be, exceeded, why there may be a certain, deviation from the initial scope. So I think those are the things that becomes very, very important. And absolutely agree with you. Transparency is very important in this case.
Okay, thank you, Yean, for sharing that. Very helpful. Perhaps since you are, in the forum, can I ask on behalf of, the members, what can SGTech do for the members, relating to procurement? How can SGTech help our members, especially for the newer ones, who are not so familiar with our government procurement?
Yeah.
Or if they face any problems, sometimes very difficult to hammer the head of government, officers, right? So
yeah. That's why we have you. That's why we have you, Shirley. Committee. But thanks for giving me the floor. I guess firstly, of course, as we said, we're here to basically be a voice for our members. So of course, firstly, for anyone who are new and not familiar with the process, I think we're more than happy, to either organize via workshops, or webinars, or even, kind of closer groups kind of interaction, so that, they can actually understand the process better. And I think we are definitely here to navigate, but also we are here as a result that, also being able to then feedback, back to Govtech or even any of the government agencies that we work with, if there were any barriers that we can support in overcoming, or whether, we find over time there's some unnecessary barriers, perhaps, then there could be certain changes. So in a sense, it is a collaboration as well for us. The other thing is we also obviously see ourselves as kind of a bit of a meeting point between demand and supply, right? So we do have definitely companies within our member space who are providers themselves, such as Anurax, but we also have companies, within, our member space who are, potentially customers, in this sense, whether it's customer of Govtech or, customers of our members. So I think those are the things that I think that if we can, actually appreciate more of what their needs are, then definitely we can create more connection opportunities, or connect, or to connect one another. We can share in terms of experiences as well. So I think definitely we will welcome our members, to leverage us and our network to support them in their business opportunities.
Okay, great. Well, I can see that there's no more questions asked from the members, but we have a little bit more time. So I thought, might be useful. I know there's, some of us, especially like Kevin, who was trying to rush through, in delivering all his very interesting and informative in his presentation. I perhaps, I could just give a few minutes to all our panelists here. Is there any thing that you wanted to add on where you didn't have a chance to say earlier on, or perhaps, share from your perspective, what are relating to the topic that you have shared earlier? I just opened it this time. It's free for all. So yeah, anyone want to say something else on top of what, which you feel that it is important for our members to know that you didn't have a chance to earlier? Any?
Yeah, maybe I can take use of all this opportunity to say a few more. So in fact, just to reiterate some of the points, and I think some of these points are very pertinent, and we say it across, right? And I think it's important that even though I'm presenting the tech stack, we talk about wanting to roll this out to all agencies. But the fact that I'm here presenting is really to engage with this community. And that's very important. And just now the part that's being made about this agile practice, I think we got to lead the way even through our presentation, right? And that's why I said earlier on in the slide that a lot of the materials you see, we just choose to be more transparent. And this may not mean that things may change, but at least you get that first visibility. And to look out for things on the developer portal, I'm also trying to transform from within, right? To encourage the staff members working with me to be more open and to be more transparent. And we will be having more and more materials, such as things pertaining even to the government on commercial cloud, right? The GCC onto the dev portal itself. So do watch out for that space. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone? Well, if not, then I think I'll pass the time back to Christine. And, I'm sure you have other things to tell us.
Thank you, Shirley, and thank you the rest of the panelists. And thank you, audience. Thank you once again for joining us. And hope that the session...
Hang on, Christine. I'm sorry. I think there is one final question that came in.
Okay, sure.
Do we have time for that? Just one quick question. Okay.
Yes.
It says here, I think Joanna asked, many of our partners are keen to develop API solutions together. May I know if it is possible to address OIP project as a collective of different companies?
Yes, and I think, and I would encourage Joanna to do two approaches, right? So OIP is a collaboration exercise that the agency want to engage the industry. So, and the agency do want to engage a panel of industry, right? I mean, through a selection and evaluation criteria, of course. But we do want to, tap on the innovativeness and creativity of the industry to know more, right? So definitely, you can leverage the OIP platform to come together, and the OIP platform can allow you to come together, right? Because in today's solution cannot be just monolithic by itself and provided by one person. Yeah, we do need to crowdsource, right, ideas and solution for everybody to make the solution better. So OIP is one way. Second way, like I think Kevin shared just now, visit the developer portal, join the community. Developer portal is not just a platform for us to distribute information, but it's a community that we're trying to create. That actually tap on all the specialists in the industry. So join them, have dialogue with them. They do have meetings, meetups that they organize, and then use that channel as well to work together with government to try to put some of those ideas together. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all the time we have for Q&A. Over to you, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you, Shirley, and thank you, Aaron. Okay. Thank you, the audience, once again for joining us today. Hope that the session has been insightful for you. SGTech continually curates useful webinars and programs for you. So here's sharing the upcoming events that could be of interest to you. You may scan the QR code to see more information on these events. Next, SGTech, as part of Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Office, led by Singapore Manufacturing Federation, is helping SME manufacturers to transform their business and operations to be ready for Industry 4.0. We are looking for tech solutions targeting at both food manufacturing industry and precision engineering industry. So for more information, please send an email to my colleague Su Juan or scan the QR code to submit the solutions. If your company is open to hire and support career switchers, especially to take on digital sales and Salesforce role and capability, to consider leveraging on PCP, Professional Conversion Programs. For more information, you can email us at pcp@sgtech.org.sg. And if your company has been hiring or looking for interns, to hire interns, do make sure you're tapping on the funding support from Global Ready Talent Program. To find out more information, you can email us at grt@sgtech.org.sg. Lastly, we appreciate your feedback to help us to improve future webinars. Please scan the QR code on the screen to complete the survey. We will leave the slide on for the next 5 minutes. And thank you once again for your time. Hope to see you in the future events.